Okay, I'm going to wait for a few more participants. Yeah, Rachel, do you want to introduce yourself while we're just hanging out waiting for the poll and for some participants?
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Rachel Deese and I'm the Sales and Marketing Manager of CIEE TEFL. I'm really excited for you guys to be here today to learn more about Spain. I'm a huge fan of Spain myself. I did the Teach Abroad program with CIEE back in 2016, so I'm really excited for you guys to learn more and hopefully for you guys to teach abroad with us in the future. So very excited.
Great. Yeah. And just to say again, I'm Lauren and I'm the pre-departure coordinator for Teach in Spain. I taught abroad in South Korea for 2 years when I graduated college, and I later taught in Thailand. And now I talk about all things Spain. Okay, so let's just get going. I'm going to, we'll keep the poll going. Okay. Okay, so today, oh yeah, and some thank you for the, oh, how do you vote in the poll? Let me just double check. Sorry. Are you unable to do? I'm not sure. We'll disable the poll for now and get going. Sorry about that. Okay, so yes, thank you for answering in the or asking questions in the Q&A. That's what we prefer. Try not to talk in the chat. We'll answer questions as we go. And today we're going to talk about what is CIEE, the Teach in Spain programs and overview. We're going to meet our current and former participants, hear about their experiences on different topics, and then have Q&A. So CIEE is a nonprofit, non-government organization that has been around for 75 years. We had our 75th year anniversary this year, and they're working with thousands of people to gain knowledge and skills necessary to live and work in a globally interdependent and culturally diverse world. And we have programs in Teach Abroad, Study Abroad, high school, gap year, work exchanges, internships, and more. So Rachel and I introduced ourselves a little bit. I'm the Teach Abroad coordinator for Spain. Rachel is the sales and marketing manager. And then we have Stephen, who's the director of Teach in TEFL, Luke, the manager of Teach Abroad, and Destina, who works on programs in Thailand and South Korea. Okay, so some things we want you to think about is, have you or a family or family member or close friend taught abroad before? Like, how did you hear about teaching?
Yes, and I just also relaunched the poll too. So you can go ahead and answer these questions in the poll if you're able.
Cool. Thank you for answering. Okay, thanks for making that work, Rachel. That's helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking through some of the results so far. Yeah, a lot of people have a connection to teaching abroad, whether it's a family member or friend. We'll keep this up for a little bit just to see. And then why Spain? This one's very, very even. It's traveling around Europe is a big one, doing something different, all the above, learning Spanish, gain experience. About 2/3 of people know what a TEFL is. 1/3 needs to learn more. And about 1/3 of people speak fluent Spanish. 1/3 of people speak a little bit of Spanish. And then 1/3 of people want to learn. Major in college, the majority of you, about 80%, do not have an education degree. That's very normal. And great. Okay, so can share the results and you can probably see that information coming in. Just like interesting to see where people are coming from and who we're talking to right now. Okay, so we want to go over the eligibility to teach abroad. You do need to have native level English proficiency. It doesn't mean you have to be a native level or native born speaker, but just having that native level. You should be a citizen of the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, or Ireland. This is for visa purposes. In order to get your visa to go teach in Spain, it is required to have a bachelor's degree in any field. And then, of course, just the ability to have a flexible, adaptable, and positive attitude when you go and teach abroad, because part of it is also living abroad and learning, how to navigate a whole entire new culture. In Teach in Spain, we have different program options. We have our regular Teach in Spain program, which you would arrive sometime in September next year. Teaching duties always begin in October. This is what most people do. And then the teaching goes from October through the end of June with the option to renew for a second year. We also have immersion programs where you can stay with a host family for 2 or 4 weeks. And you would get to Spain a little bit earlier in this case, and so that you can have time to settle before teaching. And you would live with a host family in Spain while learning Spanish Monday through Friday for a couple hours each day. Meals are provided during this time, 2 meals per day. And so that's just a good way to kind of learn the language and be able to meet Spanish people before you start teaching. And then Rachel, do you want to talk about the TEFL options as well?
Yeah, sure. So TEFL, as we were talking about in those questions, TEFL stands for Teaching English as a Foreign Language, and CIEE offers a variety of different types of certificates that you can get. So we do offer that you can combine your Teach Abroad application with a TEFL application, and TEFL is not required. So you don't have to bundle if you don't want to, but the option is definitely there. And we'll talk about the reasons why you might want to get TEFL certified before teaching in Spain. And then of course, if you get the 150-hour TEFL certification, you do get a $195 discount on that when you teach abroad with CIEE. So if you indicate interest, you open an application, you can always get that $195 discount applied to your TEFL application with us.
Thank you. Oh, and there you go.
Yeah, getting a little further into your options with TEFL. Like I said before, because it's not required, you do have a couple of options depending on what your personal and professional goals are. So our most popular option is the 150-hour TEFL course. A lot of people that are looking to teach abroad in Spain might also be considering going to other places after their time in Spain, or you might be considering Spain among other options like Thailand or South Korea. So the 150-hour TEFL certificate is internationally recognized and valid for life. It is a little bit more of a structured course. It is 11 weeks long. You get to have direct contact with your peers and your instructor. And then you also get some hands-on experience before you get your TEFL certificate as well. So you can put that on your resume. The second option is the 60-hour TEFL certificate. If you're ever worried about time, commitment, anything like that, the TEFL certificate for 60 hours, you can start that at any time. It's completely online and it's self-paced. It covers kind of the highlights of the 150-hour course. And it's a great option for those that are looking for some extra resources for the classroom, either in Spain or otherwise.
Thank you. Okay, so what is the job? You'll teach 16 hours per week, so that's 16 classroom hours. And typically you get Mondays or Fridays off, so you have 3-day weekends. There's a €1,000 monthly stipend, and then the placements are all over the region of Madrid. The role of the language and culture assistant is that you're placed in public schools in primary or secondary level. Some of the responsibilities of the language assistant are cultural presentations, activities and games, conversational work, and then helping students study. There is the chance that you might be able to help with other subjects such as art, history, science, or PE. That depends on the school and what the need is. So now we'll get to the fun stuff. We're going to meet the panelists. So as you see yourself come up, please introduce yourself. Thank you. Jake.
Oh, I was muted. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can hear.
Hey guys, I'm Jake. Let's see. I did the 4-week Spanish immersion with CIEE, where I did the whole shebang. I stayed at a homestay for 4 weeks and took Spanish classes that whole time. And I applied pretty early on in October, And I think that benefited me a lot because I got placed. I'm not right in the center of Madrid, but I'm just an easy, like it's an effortless metro ride now where it's just 30 minutes out, 30 minutes back. And I really like my kids, really like the staff there. Let's see. I graduated with my master's in social work in May of 2022. And instead of hopping into the 9 to 5 in that field, I wanted to still travel and give teaching a try as well. So I have that summer to get TEFL certified, and that was a great experience, especially the practicum. And I can talk more about that later, I think. But I really just learned how to get comfortable in the classroom in the practicum. And I've been using that in school, and I'm still learning so much. There's so much to learn here, and it's really fun to live here in Madrid. It's just easy to meet up with people and make plans in the city, and then it's really easy to travel too. So I'm like doing all the traveling I can while also doing all the living I can, and then sometimes pay for that by being like overwhelmed and really tired. But super happy here and with this experience. I've definitely went through the housing search, and it worked out. So I can answer any questions on that too. And I also do a ton of traveling. Probably every other weekend. I'm just like, I can't say no to all these trips. Even within Spain, it's just so easy to hop on these trips. So I can answer questions about that too. So yeah.
Great. Thank you. And Kaylee.
All right. Hi, I'm Kaylee. I am from New York, and I graduated in 2021. And after I graduated college, I taught abroad in Thailand last year. And then me and all my best friends that I made there decided we wanted to teach and travel together forever. So we came to Spain this year. I currently teach 3-year-olds, first graders, and second graders. I love the little ones. I, like Jake said, applying early helps. My school is actually right in the center of Madrid, which is amazing. And I cannot even say enough good things about my school, but I'm in the teaching section of this panel, so I'll wait a little bit. What else? Yeah, I studied abroad when I was in college in New Zealand. And yeah, I got my TEFL certification as well, which was a big plus. But I can touch more on that later when we talk about TEFL. But I love it here, so teach abroad.
Thank you, Kaylee. And next is Madison.
Hey y'all, I'm Maddie. I'm from Louisiana. So I graduated with my master's in 2020. And during my time in school, I didn't get to study abroad. And so after I graduated, I worked for a year and was kind of like, no, I want to see the world. And so it's kind of what led me here. Just like Kaylee and Jake, I also applied early, I think around late August. And so that also helped me a lot because I'm about 30 minutes outside the center by bus. And my school is great. I work at a nursery, so I'm with 1 to 3-year-olds, which kind of gets hectic, but they're so cute and fun. And I'll definitely touch on that later, but my school is great. I'm the only aux there, and it's not bilingual. So I get a lot of Spanish practice, and it kind of ties into the immersion as well, that I'm constantly immersed in the language with the teachers and the kids. And yeah, everything is great. Madrid is incredible. It's so easy to get around. It's so easy to travel. You're going to love it here. Very much so.
Thank you. And Cole.
Hi, everyone. So I am currently teaching, or I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I graduated from UW-Madison in this past May with a degree in ecology. I love running. I love playing soccer or football if you go to Madrid, and going birding as well. And I teach 7th through 10th grade at a school in Valdemoro. And I have my TEFL certification. And I also kind of second what everybody else has said, is that Madrid is it's an amazing city to be in. And people here are, there's so many people who are willing to help you out, from people at the train station to your teachers. So I can't recommend it enough. And it's a great way to go into living in another country with a lot of support behind you as well.
Okay, thank you. Thanks all for the intros. So now we're going to go into our different topics that we'll be discussing. It'll be living in Spain, which comes down to some important things like saving and budgeting, housing, and public transportation. Those are the big questions we always get. And then, of course, working in Spain, the teaching aspect, TEFL certificate, and private tutoring. So our panelists are just going to talk a little bit about their experience, and feel free to put questions in the chat and we'll either answer as we go or at the end. But yeah, just in the Q&A, that's great. So Cole and Jake are going to talk a little bit about savings for Spain. So Cole, do you want to start?
Yeah, so starting off, I saved about $3,500 for traveling to Spain, and that could be enough, not enough for you, depending on when you get here. I got here the week before school started, so I was planning on having less time here before I got paid, so that definitely factors into it. If you're going to be here for 2 months before you get paid, maybe try to save a little more. And then also for me, I just tried to save a little more than I thought I might need, so that if I want to go out and meet people during the first month or so here, I have the ability to do that, and go out to eat or grab drinks or go to a show or something like that. Because I think it's really important during those first couple of weeks to put yourself out there and get to meet other people. So it's nice to have that little extra cushion. In terms of cost to think about for pre-departure, kind of, think about housing. You might have to pay, your first month's rent, a security deposit, and a renter's fee. So that can definitely add up pretty quickly. It's nice to have a little extra saved up for that. And then common expenses, it's probably going to be pretty similar to what you're worrying about in the US. So, transportation, food, going out, rent, that kind of stuff. And then maybe also thinking about travel budgets as well. And in terms of how I budget personally, I just kind of throw everything into a spreadsheet, and I give myself set sort of goals for how much I want to spend for each one. And I try to give myself a reasonable cushion within my my budget for Spain. And I especially think it's helpful to maybe set aside more money than you think you need for stuff like groceries, so that you're never in a position where you feel like you have to, to skimp out on that to make other stuff work. So that's it for me.
Thanks. And Jake, do you want to say a little bit about your experience?
Yeah, sure. Let's see. How much did I save? I sold my car before I came out here, and it turned out to be a really good time to sell a car. Like, cars were going for a lot. So I sold it for 14,000, and I've been lucky to be able to live off of that 14,000. But then I also had some savings as well, as prepared to just live off of too. I would recommend making as much money as you can to bring along with you. They pay you 1,000 a month for your salary, but as a teaching assistant, but I think that's more of something to be viewed as like just a little bonus that, hey, we get to like live here and work here as an assistant, and then we get paid as well, and that's nice. Okay, so people will say that it's possible, and it is possible to live off the 1,000 a month if you really work hard at it and really try and penny pinch in every area of your life. But it's not quite realistic, I would say, at least not for me. Especially if you include international travel, then you definitely will be living off savings as well. I don't think the 1,000 kept up with inflation, because the ministry probably knows that a lot of us are wanting to do it to travel and to live this lifestyle. So they haven't raised it yet. But it's still, you still can, that helps a lot. Let's see. Rent, I pay $800 a month for rent, and that's pretty common from a lot of people. Yeah, even rooms now are like 600 for a room, and that seemed a little bit expensive. Are there questions coming in? I can't tell.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll read some of the questions when you're done, and then you guys can both answer.
Oh, nice. Typical monthly rent. Yeah.
Yep.
People will say like 400, 300, and that's just not realistic now. Like there's been steady inflation over time. And then of course there was the recent inflation, and then Spain got hit by that. So things are like, it's still way cheaper than what we're used to in the States. Like in the States, big cities, you're paying like 1,800 for a studio apartment or a 1-bedroom apartment, or 2,000 for an apartment. And here it's like, I have a nice studio apartment that's big with a kind of a living room, but I pay 800 and I'm super happy with that. And then to start out rent, you always have to pay an extra month of rent right off the bat. Like I had to pay 1 month's rent and then another month's rent as like a security deposit that will get paid back. And then I had to pay the agent, because a lot of times you just need an agent to help you find a place. Like it was really hard this year to find a place. There was just so much stuff that fell through. And usually in every place I saw, they made you have to commit to a 1-year lease. I think, and maybe we'll get into this with housing, but housing was a journey, and you learn so much about like, you're going to be okay. You'll be fine. And I can help with this process, but like, it can get overwhelming, but a lot of times you have to commit for a year. I think there's a way technically to get out of it if you want to leave by June, but honestly, commit to a year. I'm talking about housing right now, but commit to a year, because your visa allows you to stay for 3 months after your contract ends June 30th anyway. So you're going to want to stay in Europe anyway and like travel for those final 3 months during that summer. After you're done June 30th, you want to travel July, August, September. So yeah, rent 800, average I hear 700, 600 at the cheapest, but maybe if you look really hard you can find something cheaper. But then joining a gym, I paid to join a gym, and mine is $50 a month. That's and then $30 a month for transportation, but that's another thing. And then groceries. And then if you want to travel, there's lots of cheap options to travel within Spain. Like I jump on these trips where it'll take me to like Bilbao and San Sebastian, Basque Country. I'll hit like 4 cities in one weekend, and it's an all-inclusive trip, and you can do that for $80. And that's really worth it, like through City Life Madrid or Smart Insiders. But yeah, you're going to want to go out, like get dinner with people, and it's way more expensive doing that, but it's worth it. What are some other expenses? Rent, be prepared to like drop a lot of money off rent right off the bat.
I'm gonna pop in really quick. This is Lauren.
Yeah.
For Jake, do you live alone in a studio? Just curious.
Yeah. I live alone in a studio. Yeah.
Yeah. So living alone will be a lot more expensive. We just recently did a survey of all of the participants who went in this fall. And for those living with one person, they were spending between $700 and $800. If you're living with roommates, which the majority of people do, the average rent was $400 to $500 a month. So 800 is not the normal. I just want to throw that out there just so that number doesn't scare anyone.
Right. Yeah. Rooming with people is definitely a way cheaper way to go. But yeah, I live alone, and I was looking with roommates, but it was just too hard to balance the priorities of what my roommates wanted with what I wanted. So I just decided to live alone, but I could do that. And it's actually worked out fine. So yeah, the 1,000 will pay your main expenses, but then anything else, like if you want to travel, you probably should. I would recommend working. If you have the summer free, just work and save up a lot of money for travel while you're in Spain. So.
Okay, thank you. Let's see if there's any more questions about budgeting. I see. Would you say your salary of €1,000 mainly covers your major expenses, housing, utilities, and transportation?
Exactly.
And what it, yeah. Yep. Is that what you're?
Yeah, Cole. Or Cole, I think, has his hand up too.
Yep, Cole?
Yeah, so you can definitely make it work for covering everything. I think just being honest about your budget and making sure that you're really logging everything kind of helps you to keep within that €1,000 a month budget. So I've kind of just been enjoying not having to work all the time. And so I just have my €1,000 a month, and that's been plenty for me to pay my rent, for transportation. And then I also have, there's extra money there to eat out a little bit. I play in a soccer league once a week. So there are definitely ways to make it work with just the €1,000 a month.
Okay, thanks. Let's move on to the next topic. And then feel free to still put questions in the chat. So now, let me make sure we're going to talk about housing, cost of rent, which Jake already talked about, and finding roommates. So how about Madison? Let's hear from you on the housing.
Yeah, so housing was really difficult to find. I heard this fall was a lot harder because they're in like a housing crisis right now. But I came out here with roommates already established. I did the 4-week immersion program. So I got here, I think August 22nd, and my roommate she didn't get here till I think like middle of September. And so I started looking first when I got out here, and did not find anything. And so then she got out here, also didn't find anything. And so I definitely would say keep an open mind. Don't come like fully committed with someone, because I actually don't live with her now. And the way I found mine was my host stay. One of the girls I did a host stay with, she found an apartment, and they luckily just had a room available. And it was a month and a half that I was looking for an apartment. And so I just grabbed it because I was tired of looking. I was moving out of my homestay, and I didn't have, the budget or like the money to really move into an Airbnb because I had all that saved for travel and things. And so my advice would be, if you're on Idealista, that's what I use mostly. Definitely call and WhatsApp the landlords if they have a number listed. Because if you message them straight through on Idealista, if they open the message, sometimes they don't respond. If they do respond, sometimes they don't get back to you. And so a lot of people had a lot more luck if they just directly called them or WhatsApped them. So let's see, what about my apartment? So I live in Pacifico. It's more south of Seoul. It's definitely more of a neighborhood feel. It's not as touristy. There's not like a lot of going on, a lot of kind of like small local mom and pop restaurants and things like that. But I'm also a 5-minute walk from Retiro. So I guess it kind of depends on like what you want or what you're looking for in a place to stay. I live in a 4-bedroom apartment. It's fully furnished, and I pay $460 a month with water included. And my electricity after we split it is around 10 to 15 euros a month. So that's it's not bad. It definitely sucks seeing like half of your paycheck already gone from the beginning of the month. But, they said before, just, budget and make sure you're hitting all your points and things like that. Let's see, what else did I have? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. My roommates are great. I came out here knowing one girl, and then we have another girl that moved in. She's from the UK, that I live with a Spanish guy as well. And so kind of a big mix, but it's worked out fine. And we have 2 bathrooms too. And that's not really common, but yeah, it's so I don't know, I guess with housing, just be proactive and just take initiative with it, because it is very difficult. And especially with not learning or not knowing Spanish, a lot of the landlords speak Spanish and not a lot of English. And so maybe just like look up some terms before coming out here so you can maybe communicate with them a lot better. But yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, so it definitely proves me wrong that you can find cheap options. For me, it was difficult to find, and then I got impatient. I just had to find a place. So I was happy with 800 because it was cheaper than what I was paying in the States. But yeah, right there, $460 a month. That's amazing, you know. And having roommates would be really fun, having people. And I guess I miss out on that a little bit, like having people to like process your day with. But then at the same time, living alone has worked out great. I've loved it. So there's pros and cons to both. But one thing I wish I took into account more, the mindset of like, there's no wrong option, like living alone or with roommates or with these roommates or the other roommates. It's like, it will work out, you know, like eventually I just need a place. And I had too many options starting out. I talked with people that I hadn't met yet on the Facebook CIEE page. And I was like, I'm going to room with them. Then I got to CIEE and then I found some other people. I'm like, I'm going to room with them. And then I found another group of people. I had like 3 different groups of people I was looking with while looking alone. I was just overloading myself and it made it really hard. So I would say if you do immersion and have some time living at a homestay, you will find people right that you see in class every day. They're looking for places, you know, like people that you just mesh with. All you need is one other person, you know, like 2 or 3 people or 4. And then you have a group of people to look with. And that might be easier just to narrow it down to one group of people you're looking with. But what has happened for a lot of people is they do need to get flexible of like breaking off a group and then finding a new group of people. And then all the while, it just wasn't as, there are a lot of things that like you fall in love with and then it doesn't go through, like you don't hear back. And then that was a good exercise to realize that like you can fall in love with multiple places and all of them work out. Like I found this amazing place and it was luck. Like it worked out. And one thing that's a huge asset when you develop, maybe you look at a few places and you're like still thinking about it, but then that sense of desperation of ready to pull the trigger because you just need a place, that is a huge benefit to looking, because it's like, if you know you're ready to find a place and it checks all the boxes, you really just need a place to like sleep, you know, and live, and you'll make it your home. But I would be willing to pay an extra month's worth of rent because those agents help you make a deal and help it just go through, like they'll get back to you rather than just you and the landlord working through each other, because then they might ghost you. And yeah, it's going to work out. People will let you keep their bags at your house too. Like people at the tandem or friends you meet, and you can crash on the couch with someone while you're looking for a place. But I would say get on it sooner rather than later. Like be ready to pull the trigger sooner rather than later too, because I waited till the very, very last second and that really stressed me out. And I had to do this, but I wish I didn't, but I was skipping a lot of Spanish classes to look for places, because it's like I had 2 weeks left, and like the only times to tour were like during the day. And the sooner you get housing figured out, then you can just focus on the Spanish classes. But I had to miss a lot of those classes to prioritize looking for a place. But looking back at it, it all works out, and it will work out for you guys. Like the landlords are looking to fill their places, and it is cheaper than the States. And it's a huge bonus if your landlord speaks English, because I do like to speak English about, you know, just knowing specifically and for sure what's going on and where he's at. And then be nice and be friends with your landlord too. Like if they want to like talk with you when you're signing the lease, like sit and talk with them, ask them about their family for a while and like act really interested, because it is. And then if they don't speak English, then that is a great opportunity to really work on your Spanish. And like what Maddie said, I got way better at my Spanish that month of looking for places than I ever have, because you learn the key words. Estoy buscando para un piso, you know, and then like learn the words furnished and fianza, like that's the security deposit, and then like ready to move in right away, like learn the words of like what time, have your typed out like bio about you, keep it short and simple. Hey, I'm a worker, say that you're a worker, because they and then have your carta printed out and on hand ready, that's like CIEE will tell you what it is, but it's like your work contract, and then have your passport and NIA, your visa, all like on document, so you're ready to send it via WhatsApp right away to the agent or landlord, so you can like move ahead further. And then you're going to be competing with lots of other teaching assistants or students that are looking to sign right away. So if you like it, then don't be afraid to pull the trigger. And then if you're
Jake,
rooming with
sorry, Jake. I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, please,
but
no,
we've
sorry.
got a lot of topics to cover. So I'm gonna just move on.
Yes.
If we need more logistics about housing, we have really good housing tips, but thank you so much.
Perfect.
I do see more questions coming up in the chat, and we'll address more of those at the end. I just want to make sure we have time to get through the other topics, but thank you so much, both of you, Jake and Madison. Okay, public transportation. Let's start with Cole and just let us know how you've been navigating your transportation from your school to your place and how that's been for you.
Yeah, so I get to my school, I take a train, and then I take a bus from the train station to my school. It generally is about 30 to 45 minutes. And it was costing me about 25 euros a week before I had my abono, which is the transportation card here. And now that I have that, it only costs me 10 euros a month, which is a pretty awesome deal. So, and that's nice. It will get you on the train, the bus, the metro, whatever you need to take to get to school. Your public transport card can do that. And for figuring out a route for what works best, you can use, for some reason for me, Google Maps was not great at telling me when my bus or train or metro was going to come. And so I've been using Apple Maps, but really I think you just kind of have to use trial and error to figure out what apps are most accurate time-wise and help that, or just use that and kind of figure it out as you go. Maybe give yourself a day to practice it before you go. And that's all I have.
Thank you. And Madison?
Yeah, so I take a bus to school, just one bus. It's about 20 to 30 minutes, depending on, I guess, like how fast the bus driver goes. I also have my abono, but I am 27. And I think it's like when you're over 25, you have to pay per zone. And so I only pay for zone A1. And I think it was like 27.30 the last time I put money on it. But it's 30 days and you get to use, like Cole said, the bus, the trains, and the metro, like unlimited. So it's really great. So I was actually really worried about transportation because there's none where I'm from, but I use the Move It app. And it's so convenient. You just kind of put in your address where you want to go, and it gives you, I think, like the best 3 transportation options, and it tells you the exact bus. And if you have to switch from like a bus to a metro, it guides you through that whole process until you get to your destination. And so I highly recommend to check Move It out. And yeah, transportation, it's very easy out here. It's very simple, and it's all very great. So Madrid has a great public transportation system, so you shouldn't be too worried about that. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay, thank you. And if you have
Yeah.
questions on transportation, just put them in the Q&A and okay, yeah. So do you have more or can you explain a little bit more about for people the abono for people over 25? Is that something you can speak on?
Sort of. So when you're over 25, you have to pay per zone. So Madrid has different zones that the metros go through. Zone A is like the very center, and then it just kind of spreads out as you go. I guess depending on where your school is, it kind of depends on what you pay for. And so since mine is in zone A, I only pay for zone A, I never have to go outside of it. But the price gets higher the farther you have to go out. And so for zone A right now, it's, I want to say like 27 euros and 30 cents. And I think that's been what I've paid since I've gotten out here. I'm not sure how much it goes up per zone. I just know that it gets added on each time. And so I know I have a lot of friends that work in Alcala, which is about, I think, like an hour outside of the city center. And they chose to live in Alcala because they didn't want to budget in the money that it would take for them to reload their Bono every month to travel there. And so that's definitely something to think about if you're over 25, is that your transportation will be a little bit more expensive. But if you're under 25, I think it's like a solid, I think Cole said 10, like 10 euros a month for all zones. So you can go anywhere on like that one set price.
Great, thank you. Okay,
Yeah, no
we'll move on. And like I said, just keep putting questions in the chat and we'll make sure we address them at the end if we don't during this time. Okay, teaching. Let's hear from Kaylee and some of your experience with the teaching so far.
Okay. So, oh yeah, like I said earlier, I'm at a primary school, and it's a bilingual school. So the students are from ages 3 to 11. So it's like the infantile through the end of elementary school, I guess. I teach English, natural science, social science, PE. Sometimes I stop in art class, depends on the week. So it's fun to have like a whole range of subjects that I get to be a part of because it helps keep the day flowing. My prep time being in a primary school is nice because there's not a lot of outside work. Occasionally they'll ask me to make a PowerPoint about like food from my country or Thanksgiving, like random things. But compared to friends that I have that teach secondary, I don't do as much outside work. The dress code here is much more lax than in the States. I've worked at schools in the States before, and I feel like it's much more like particular. Like I'm wearing ripped jeans right now that I wore to school today. So they're pretty chill about stuff, which is cool. I work with 2 different teachers mainly, and then like for PE, there's another one. But I love my staff. They are so incredible, so much fun. The school's having like a staff Christmas party dinner tomorrow night. I'm going to, and it's just like immediately they made me feel like so comfortable right at home. I like wake up every morning and I'm so happy to go to work, which is an amazing feeling. And that's because of the staff and because of the students. The kids are so excited. They think it's so cool to have like a native English speaker in the class. And they just like light up when they see you, and it makes like everything worth it. So it's amazing.
Cool. Thank you, Kaylee. Cole, will you go next? And did you have any other comments about transportation that you wanted to share?
Oh, yeah, just one more thing for transportation. I really did not like having I dreaded any sort of commute when I was working back home, and here taking public transportation makes it so much more enjoyable. You can read, you can listen to music. So if you do have to commute a little further using public transport, it's not bad at all.
Excellent.
And then as far as teaching, so I teach at a secondary school, so that would be grades 7 through 12. And I love it. You know, the kids are kind of at a weird age where they're coming into their own, but they also are old enough to understand a lot of really interesting issues that are going on in the world. And so with some of the higher level classes, it's great to talk with them about that. And I really enjoy hearing their opinions on various issues. So that's great. In terms of prep time, you know, I try to just go over the exercises before I do them with each kid or with each class. And then occasionally, like Kaylee said, you know, you have to do a presentation. And so, but I don't think it's never overwhelming, and you have time during the day, maybe in between classes, where you can get that done. So that's pretty nice. Dress code, they're really, like Kaylee said, again, they're not very strict. I try to just wear like a collared shirt to school every day, but I don't think I necessarily need to do that. It's just my personal preference. And I work with 7 different teachers, which sounds like maybe it would be inconsistent and hard to get to know them, but I haven't found that at all. It's been a really fantastic experience. And then I work with 7th through 10th graders. So they're, you know, it's a really fun group. Sometimes it's kind of controlled chaos in the classroom in a great way. And they're kind of at a weird age. So I think it helps if you're a little bit weird with them, or in terms of like just being goofy or, open about who you are and not, and kind of, letting them know that it's okay to be weird or a little odd. And that's part of being that age. So, yeah.
Excellent. And Jake, will you share your experience with teaching?
Yeah, I'll agree with Cole that like even if you have a commute, you can read on the commute. It's a pleasant, and the transportation just works so well and it's so reliable. So sometimes I wish I had a longer commute, but mine's like 30 minutes. I teach English, and when you teach English, that's when, at least at my school, that's when it's like you have the freedom to kind of teach about culture or plan a lesson on your own, and you can prepare and kind of take the class and take that teacher role. Like a lot of teachers will hang back and just watch and let you teach and prepare for English classes. And I teach a few of those, but then I also help out with biology. And for that, the teachers have a set curriculum, and like they're trained biologists themselves, and like they're teaching as a second degree, like they have degrees in biology. They do a really good job of like helping me feel useful in class by like reading out something or like studying like a topic and then like presenting one day on it. But a lot of times I'm just kind of like sitting there in class with the students, just helping out, like going from student to student to like help them out with their assignments after the lecture is over. So there's less like me as a teacher role during my biology classes. And then PE, they like to put, it seems like they like to put guys in PE, and I can help out with PE, and that's really fun too, to run around with the students and kids. And then I really recommend building rapport with the teachers you work with, like befriend them, talk with them before and after, check in with them to get their feedback. Because if you're friends with them and they like you, it's way more forgivable. Like if you're tired one day, or if I don't know, it just makes the job a lot better if you can get them on your side. So build rapport with your teachers, ask about how they're doing their personal life. A lot of them will speak English if it's a bilingual school, but if not, then great opportunity to practice Spanish. That's where you're immersed with the other Spanish staff at your school. And if you work with other Auxes, chances are they'll become really good friends of yours. I'm really good friends with the other Auxes I work with, and I'm so grateful I work with 4 other Auxes. What grades, age groups? It gets to secondary school. It can be anywhere from age 11 to 17. And I really like the kids, and it's fun to like give them high fives in the hallway and then talk about soccer and follow soccer. Football helps build rapport with the students too, talking about the World Cup or like Real Madrid. Okay, that's all I'll say. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Okay, I love hearing about everyone's teaching experience. I do see more questions coming in the chat, but we're just going to wait until the end to address those, just to get through a little bit more about some private tutoring and the TEFL certificate, and then we'll go through the questions. So private tutoring, Kaylee, and if Kaylee wants to talk on that, and then Rachel will talk on it next.
Yeah, so for private tutoring, I have 3 students. 2 of them are siblings, but different ages. So how I found these is actually kind of a funny story. Back when I was still home, like before I got here, one of the moms found me on Instagram and DM'd me. And she said that she had like gotten my name from the school, and she looked me up online, and she thought I seemed really funny and interesting. So she asked if I would be interested in tutoring, and I was like, I mean, yeah, why not? So her son is in 4th grade at my school, so I don't teach 4th grade, which is kind of nice because like I have that separation from like him being in class, but like I see him after school. And then through her, I got this other family because they were friends. So I also teach like another 4th grader from my school, and then his older sister. And it's really fun to be with kids that I don't see all the time because I get to do different stuff. And since they're a little older than my students, they speak a little more English. I charge $20 an hour for my lessons. That seems to be like the normal rate. People tend to go between like 18 and like 22. I feel like I hear normally. For both those families, I go to their apartments to do it, which is nice. One of them's like a 10-minute walk from my school, and one of them's a 10-minute walk from my apartment. So that's convenient. I think I said what ages I teach. And then for prepping, For the ones that go to my school, I always talk to their teacher about what they're doing during the week, and then I just make worksheets or find worksheets based on that. Or if it's like around a holiday, I'll print them like a word search or a crossword puzzle themed like Christmas or whatever. And we play a lot of hangman because it's good practicing their spelling, and they love hangman and they always beat me at it, which they also love. But tutoring is really fun, and it gives you an opportunity to like speak with a family that lives here, and like the families that I do are friends, and they're hosting a Christmas dinner next week, and they invited me to go, which is sweet. And it's just like really nice, like separate thing from your school that also involves you teaching. So definitely recommend.
Nice.
Thanks.
I
I
love that
wanted to
story.
comment really quick. I didn't know about the Instagram. See, there's so many creative ways to find tutoring jobs. And now Rachel, go for it.
Yeah, so I'm pulling from my experience when I was teaching abroad a couple of years ago. I was a big fan of private tutoring. I had about 4 students each year. I taught abroad for 2 years in Madrid. And I found these in a couple of different places. So I was looking at online opportunities through sites called Lingo Bongo and Tus Clases Particulares. If you guys have questions about that, you can leave it in the chat and I can type those out. But I was just kind of I was working in a high school, so I was looking for some smaller kids to work with too, because I like the age range. I think it's fun to work with all ages of students. And then another couple of my students who were older, and they were actually kids of the teachers that I worked with at school. They were not my students at school. They went to different schools. But the teachers liked working with me and they wanted me to work with their kids too. So that's how I found my private tutoring students. How much do I charge? I was taking care of 2 smaller kids at the same time. So I'd pick them up from school and then we'd have English class after school at their house. And I was getting paid like 32 euros an hour for that. That was set by the family. That was an amazing opportunity that I definitely took advantage of for 2 years. And I'm still in contact with that family. They are really wanting to learn American English, I guess. So that was really important to them. And then the other families, I was charging about 20 to 25, depending on kind of what the preparation they wanted. And it was always at their house. So I was always traveling to where they live. The people that I worked with that were kids of the teachers at school, they would actually take me like home from school and go to their house. So I didn't have to do the transportation on my own. Rather, I was going there right after school. And then I would just, get transportation back to my own house. So it was pretty convenient. What ages did I teach? So when I started with the family of the small children, they were 2 and 3 years old. So that was when, we started, and then they obviously got older the second year. And then the older kids, I had one that was like a freshman in high school, and then I had one that was a senior in high school. And for those 2 older kids, they were preparing for the Cambridge exams. So I was exclusively picking from the Cambridge material that we had at school to help them prepare for those lessons. And then for the smaller kids, it was more like elementary play. So there wasn't really much preparation involved. It was more just speaking and correcting them when they said things that were incorrect, that kind of stuff, but very, very basic, and, helping with any homework they might have had. Kids do go to school pretty early in Spain. So they did have some stuff that they took home, but it was very, very simple activities that we did together. So it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. And like I said, I'm still in touch with those 2 little kids, and, we get together for Christmas stuff sometimes when I'm in Spain. So it was definitely an opportunity that I'm glad I didn't miss out on.
Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, if you want to type in the chat those recommendations that you had, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
And TEFL. So let's start with Madison and just talk about your TEFL experience. And then after Madison, we'll go to Kaylee.
Yeah, so is it required? It is not, but I wanted to get it anyway because I just kind of wanted to I kind of want just to know about, teaching English as a foreign language. I kind of wanted to know, I guess, like grammar things that I, as a English speaker, you just kind of forget about, or, you probably don't really learn it in school because it's, your language. So I think for me, I just kind of wanted the experience of teaching in that aspect. So why get certified? So I teach 1 to 3 year olds. So I don't really use a lot of what I learned, but it's a lot of, like I said, going over grammar, a lot of like different teaching techniques that I think especially are helpful if you're with older kids, and a lot with high school as well. A lot of my friends are with high schoolers, and they actually have to lesson plan every single week and teach every class themselves. And so I think in that aspect, it's very beneficial to have, especially if you don't have teaching experience at all. And let's see. Yes, you can use your certificate after Spain. You can teach in, I think, South Korea. You can go to Thailand with it. You can go to a lot of different countries and use it as well. So I think it's pretty beneficial if you want to, kind of stay around and teach in different countries. Definitely something to consider getting, for sure.
Thanks. And yeah, Kaylee.
Yeah, so that's my face on the slide. That's my famous TEFL photo. That was in Thailand, actually. I'm in my little uniform there. So I did my TEFL last summer in 2021 before I went to Thailand, and kind of similar to what Maddie said, I taught 1 to 3-year-olds there. So I didn't use a lot of what I learned just because we did a lot of baby shark and colors and shapes. But now in Spain with kids that are slightly older, it's definitely more of like a normal classroom setting. So I think some of the TEFL stuff definitely helps apply. I could see it being really useful though, like she said, for with older kids. I think one of the most important things that I took away from TEFL was just like the emphasis it put on how every student learns so differently. And just because one learning style seems to be like the right normal way to use, like every kid is going to have a different thing that makes them successful. So I think taking TEFL just helps open your eyes to the like little things within teaching that we don't always consider, aside from like helping you review grammar and how to actually teach like an ENL class. So it's definitely super beneficial regardless of what age you're with. And I'm glad that I did it because now I was able to use it in Thailand, use it in Spain, and now wherever else I may venture off to.
Okay, thank you. So now that concludes the kind of the topics that we're going through. We are accepting applications now. So like a lot of people have said, applying early is great. And yeah, feel free to put more questions in the chat and we're going to start addressing those as well. Let's see. How far in advance, if someone wants to answer this, how far in advance should you start looking for a place? We at CIEE, we recommend not having a place until you've seen it in person, but I also want to hear on other people's experience, like if you started looking beforehand, new neighborhoods you wanted to live in, found roommates before in the Facebook groups, but just what would you guys recommend? Anyone can chime in.
I started looking at potential neighborhoods I want to live in just to get an idea of what they were all about. And then when I got out here, I was able to see them in person. But I'm kind of with Lauren. I didn't start looking until I got here because I didn't want to be scammed. Because I've heard a lot of horror stories about people sending money already and then getting here and the place is just like a complete wreck. And that's what I was really scared that would happen. And so I started looking like the day I landed, I downloaded Idealista and started going through it.
Oh yeah, I have something to add. Yeah, I wouldn't start looking before you get here yet, but if you do the 2-week or 4-week immersion, the earlier the better. Once you're actually physically in Spain, go for it. Start looking and start, being open to like committing to a place. If it has everything you want and the landlord seems trustworthy and it's a fair price. Also one more thing. I did way too much research into the neighborhoods based on like, this is a 40-minute commute or this is a 50-minute commute. Like a lot of like all the neighborhoods, it's matters less about the neighborhood than I don't know, like the place is a little bit more important. If you live in the center, Like you will like any neighborhood that, like, all these neighborhoods have something good about them, pros and cons. So like I wouldn't overthink the neighborhood as a factor. I'd look more into, is this the right price and does it have everything I need?
Cool. If the other two want to chime in, you can, or we can move on to the next. Let's see.
I think the next question was, were your places furnished?
Mine came with a bed and a table. And then the landlord said, let me know what I can put in here. So he bought, and I told him I'd like another desk and a dresser, and he bought it for me. So I thought that was awesome because it's his place, his property, but I got to tell him what I wanted in it and he bought it. But yeah, even unfurnished, you would open up a lot more possibilities and flexibility if you're willing to do unfurnished. And I looked unfurnished for a while. And I was open-minded to it because if you get on Facebook Marketplace, people are looking to get rid of their furniture for really cheap prices. The only thing is getting it there, but that's doable. You can have people to help you. And it's just one afternoon of like figuring out like how to, maybe you get a Bolt or an Uber to like transport it. But then once you do it, you have your furniture, and furniture, you just really need a table, desk, bed. So it's not as impossible as I've heard. I haven't done it yet, but don't automatically rule out unfurnished if otherwise it's the right price and location, the place. It is doable, I think.
Yeah, I think the majority of places, from my personal experience that I've heard from participants nowadays, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think most places are furnished here. I think it's kind of the opposite in the States. When you're looking for apartments, usually you are getting unfurnished. So I think the most common thing that you'll see is that the apartments are going to be furnished. Did anyone else have any comments to say about furnishings?
Yeah, mine was.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, good. No, go ahead.
Mine was like partially furnished. Like 2 of the bedrooms had beds. Mine did not. But like it was super easy to get a mattress. I don't have a bed frame. I sleep on the floor, but it's honestly wonderful. I have no complaints. And we had no couch either. But our landlord told us that if we bought one, which we did, the 3 of us split it, and they might buy it back from us when we move out. So it's almost like we're helping them furnish it in a way, and then hopefully we'll get the money for it when we leave.
Yeah, and mine was fully furnished, from like kitchen utensils, pots, things like that, to bedding on the beds already, which I took that off and got my own. But fully furnished. I didn't have to buy a thing if I didn't have to, or if I didn't want to.
Yeah, I had a similar experience to Maddie. And also it's like, this isn't, most likely it's not going to be where you're living for the rest of your life. So, you know, everything doesn't have to be the nicest quality, and it's totally great with whatever you get.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, guys. The next question is, what are the work hours? And it is a 5-day work week. So, you know, from our standpoint from CIEE, it's always going to be a 4-day work week, and it's 16 hours a week. So typically you get Monday or Friday off. Sometimes your school will assign that to you. Sometimes they'll let you choose. It just depends on your placement, but you get those 3-day weekends, which I know I enjoyed, and I'm sure all of our panelists do as well. The next question is, do you get to choose what ages grades you teach, or are you assigned?
I can answer that one. So that in your application, you will put down your preferences, and we ask your preferences of age range, location, and if you're applying with a partner or friend. The earlier you apply, which we're accepting applications now, the earlier you apply and commit to the program, the better chance of getting those preferences.
The next question is, how is the diversity in the schools and classrooms? As a person of color, that is honestly and sadly one of my only concerns when traveling, considering the racial tension in the States. And any of our panelists want to answer their experience in schools and their classrooms. I can also share my experience too.
So at my nursery, it's not very diverse. And I kind of feel like, also the person of color, Madrid as a whole is not very diverse. but you do kind of find your people. And there's also a Facebook group. I want to say it's Melanated in Madrid. And that really helps just kind of connect to other people of color out here. And that kind of levels it out a lot. But definitely like in the States is not as comparable, I would say. I think it's definitely a lot better here. And I'll look up the group and type it on your question.
Yeah, Maddie, if you want to just put it in the chat, that would be cool.
Okay, cool.
Thanks. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
no
you.
problem.
I've also heard people have told us about that group before, so we have that saved as well.
Excellent. The next question is, what do you do in tutoring, or what do you focus on?
That'd probably be for you or Kaylee.
Yeah.
Let's have Kaylee speak first if she wants.
Okay, yeah. So kind of like I said before, it depends on what they're doing in school that week. Like a lot of times if they have an exam coming up, the mom or like their mom will message me and just be like, oh, they have a test in natural science. Like I'll have them bring their book home. Can you go over it? So if I can get my hands on the book beforehand, I try to make them like a practice exam, something they can use. It really depends. One of my favorite things to do is I like to do a lot of grammar with them because I think it's important to practice it. But like kids hate grammar. It's not that fun. So I'll try to split it and we'll do grammar work like the first half. And then the second half, I'll say, okay, we can play any game you want, but you have to teach me how to do it in English. So it's like they're practicing, but also playing. And it totally depends on the age as well. But I think there's a lot of ways to be flexible with what you do to make it both educational and enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah, I second what Kaylee said totally. For my older students, it was definitely a lot of going over like their homework that they had each week. And then, doing practice tests and stuff like that. But I had these dice that I got at a local store and they had just pictures on them. And that was a game that I liked that all my students liked, whether they were 3 years old or 18 years old, where you can roll the dice and it has little pictures and then you have to tell a story in English, using correct grammar, vocabulary, that kind of stuff. And that was a fun little like end of tutoring, game that we got to play. And it was good for literally anyone. And the next question is, how do taxes work with the side income you make? So the side income that you make is paid in cash. You're not getting taxed either on, well, I guess Lauren can answer that question too about taxes.
Yeah, so you're just given, so if you're tutoring, it's just cash. And then if for your income, it'll be 1,000 euros into your Spanish bank every month. And that is just the 1,000 euros flat, right?
The next question is, can I stay a complete and I'm assuming and complete another program after the first one is done? What's the process to either switch programs or stay in Madrid? I don't know if Lauren wants to answer that.
So if that's about renewals and you're wanting to stay in Madrid, that is something that gets discussed. So if you're going next fall, it'd be discussed the following February or so. And that's something you would just do directly in Madrid.
And if you wanted to do another program with CIEE that's not in Spain?
Then chat with us because we'll want to see what country you're going to, what's your timeline. You can just email teach@ciee.org or the Teach in Spain, which is on the screen, and we'll make sure we get you the right information.
The next question is, when is the next TEFL program program date after January? So yes, our next TEFL start date is January 23rd. And then after that is February 6th. Then we have courses that start every 2 weeks after February 6th. So if you're interested in any of those course dates, let us know. Always registering early is important, but we close enrollment officially the Monday before the course start date. So for example, if you wanted to enroll on the 23rd, enrollment ends on the 16th of January for that 23rd of January course. Next question is, how often do you private tutor? I'll let Kaylee take that one first.
So I see all my kids once a week. So the siblings I have on Mondays, I do them back-to-back 45 minutes each. And then on Tuesdays, I have the other 4th grade boy, and I have him for an hour.
Nice. Yeah, I was doing the small kids. I was picking them up at school and having English class with them at home or at their home 3 times a week. And then I was meeting with each of my high school students about once a week, twice a week if they had an exam. Next question is, can anyone speak to applying for CIE Teach Abroad with a spouse or partner?
Did anyone on the panel do that? I don't think so. If you did, cut me off. But I'll answer that otherwise. If you are wanting to apply with a friend or partner spouse, you'll just put each other's names down on the application. So you'll, in the preferences section of preferences of your school placement, just write each other's names, and we do our best to match you, maybe not necessarily at the exact same school, but in the same area, so that if you're living together, you can have like figure out a good place to live and commute.
Excellent. I think there are some questions that are very specific to each person, so we can answer those questions if you want to email us. If these are questions that are specific to you and your situation or your eligibility, anything like that, you can always email us and we can answer those specific questions for you in an email, or you can schedule a call with us too.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. So yeah, I think we'll keep answering, but some of them will we'd rather answer over email.
Yeah, because we want to get you your, the correct answer for you in particular if you have specific questions. Another question is, what are other side jobs we can get aside from tutoring?
Let's see. Side jobs aside from tutoring.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll be on a student visa unless you are an EU passport holder. And with student visas, you can be the language assistant role as you'd be going there for, and tutoring, I guess, like babysitting. But that is pretty much it. That kind of is the restriction.
There's a question, is there a webinar for the Thailand program?
We
We're
will
working
see.
on it.
You can just email teach@ciee.org and we can get you information for that.
For the 2 and 4 week immersion programs, there are Spanish classes, homestay, and 2 meals a day provided.
Yes. Yes.
How much and what did you pack?
Too much, probably.
Cool.
Do we have an expert packer on here? Sounds like Kaylee.
I brought a backpack, 1 carry-on and 1 check bag. And that was kind of enough. I kind of like had winter clothes and spring, summer clothes. And yeah, but I'm going back home for Christmas. I'm bringing more things back with me. So I always knew that I had that option when packing.
Maddie, I think answered that perfectly. I did try to do the same thing, so
Cool.
nothing to add.
Let's see. Do the majority of applicants get TEFL certified, or are there a lot of people that are not? So I think the honest truth is that I think the majority of people, because it's not required for Spain, are not TEFL certified. Again, like I was saying at the very beginning, I think it really depends on your personal and professional goals, and ultimately your comfortability in the classroom. Having a TEFL certificate before you leave can help you feel more confident in the classroom. It can also just help you gain other professional skills like leadership, classroom management, which, as you might be managing 2 to 3 year olds, but you might also be managing adults in a professional setting. So, I think it really just comes down to what you're comfortable with and what you're looking to invest into this experience. Do you want something to have, something concrete to have on your resume that also can help you throughout your professional career, or are you just looking to kind of see what this experience is about, get a little teaching experience, make some new friends, get to travel? It's really what you want it to be. Okay, cool. And then the last question is, I wish for a little more detail on the racial tension question. I'm half Southeast Asian, and I've heard that some European countries can be tough for Asian people, especially. So I don't know if anyone has any comments about that. I think we kind of talked about racial tension before. I obviously can't speak from a point of, of personal experience since I am a white woman, but I think in general, you'll find that Spain is not as diverse as the United States. I think racial tensions in the United States have grown. In my personal experience, I've seen that in the States, and I haven't seen as much of that direct racial tension in Spain. That's not to say that it doesn't exist, because I'm sure that it does. So I think it's just something that, if you join the Facebook groups and talk to other people, that are on our programs, or if you see people on our Instagram, always feel free to reach out to us and ask, how things are going. And people write lots of blogs on that too. So our blog is a great resource on the Teach Abroad page. If you need a link to that, I can actually pop that in. That's a great place to get people's personal accounts on a regular basis as well, in addition to our TikTok and Instagram accounts. Another question was, what airlines and hotels are used?
So CIE will have a hotel stay for you when you get there. We don't have that information this far out. Airlines vary. It really just depends where you are flying from. I think most people, it just depends where you're based on the way there. I don't know if anyone has any favorite airlines on this panel. I took Iberian Air. Rachel, I don't know what your preference is.
I usually fly American, but I've also flown Delta, KLM. I always just pick whatever is cheapest, honestly, and it depends. American has been the best, I think, over the pandemic. And in recent years, that's what I've been using the most, but I've done everything. I did JetBlue once.
And we can also help you if you've never booked an international flight before. We're happy to look through that process with you when the time comes. We'll leave it open for another minute with any last minute thoughts. And if the panelists have any other things to say, tips, just do it, just teach. Yeah, Cole, go for it.
As someone who was looking to go abroad like a year out, and then I was kind of just thinking about, kind of winging it and going over, I'm so glad that I have the structure and support of CIEE for moving to a new country, especially because I had never left the United States before. So I don't think it can be overstated how nice it is to have that safety net support system through CIEE to answer questions.
Cool, thanks. I know Rachel just put the blog in there. Another blog post just popped up yesterday about how to live on 1,000 euros a month, which I think would be a nice little read for later. Yeah, anyone else have any last minute thoughts?
Teach abroad, change your life, do it.
That's my spiel.
Oh, someone said, has anyone ever traveled with a pet?
So does anyone on the panel know of anyone who brought a pet? I'm just curious. You can say yes or no.
I do know someone that brought her cat, but I don't know the specifics and how she got it here. I do know she said it took a lot of vet things, like vet visits, and making sure they had the right shots and things like that. But I don't know the specifics on it. But it's possible. It's definitely possible.
Yeah, and I have some website information that I can share if you are interested in bringing an animal. It is very difficult. And CIEE cannot help with that process, but we have a resource in case you want to look through that.
Any last minute questions?
Okay, I think we're going to wrap it up. Yeah, feel free to email TEFL at CIEE or Teach in Spain at CIEE. Thank you so much to our panelists who obviously made this possible. You wouldn't want to just hear from Rachel and me the whole time. So yeah, thank you so much, and we hope to see your applications.
Bye, guys.
Bye.